Welcome to Laura Heywood Interviews. I'm Laura Heywood. Well, a lot has changed in the last week. I interviewed Kyle Jarrow just 7 days ago, and everything has changed. He came into the studio to promote Whisper House, a new musical set to open just the following day at 59 East 59th. But less than 24 hours after this interview took place, the show announced its closing before first preview. The coronavirus has really taken its toll on the theater community, and I'm going to do my best with this program and all of my social media to bring as much comfort and community as possible while everyone is in quarantine. I hope you're doing well. I'm sending you love, and Kyle and I had so much fun that I just couldn't bear to not release this interview. Hopefully, Whisper House will have a future, and I promise you I will be there. Here's my now outdated interview with Kyle Jarrow.
On today's show, Laura Heywood interviews
Kyle Jarrow. You know him best as the guy behind Spongebob Squarepants, the musical for which he was Tony nominated. Kyle is not quite here yet, so I'm going to wait to do my scripted intro until he walks through the door. First of all, I need to give you the background that Kyle is going to be here to promote the new musical Whisper House, which is at 59 East 59th, a beautiful off-Broadway theater, which he wrote the book for. And the composer for that show is Duncan Sheik. Now, if you're a regular listener to Laura Heywood Interviews, you know that Duncan Sheik was also the collaborator with my previous guest, Stephen Sater. Stephen and I had one of the best conversations I think I've ever had in my career as a broadcaster. And a lot of that was talking about working with Duncan. This afternoon, after I talked to his collaborator, Kyle Jarrow, about Whisper House, I am headed to see another musical of Duncan's, which is called Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, which is currently playing at Signature. So he's a busy guy, but I've got his artistic family in the studio with me, and they are all busy too, which I believe is probably why Kyle Jarrow is running a few minutes late. He's basically going to have to tell me about the show, because as many reviews as I can read and descriptions on the website, and to, look at little clips that I've seen, it's a really different thing to interview someone about a show that I haven't completely immersed myself in. So as I mentioned, today is going to be a little bit different because Whisper House hasn't started previews yet. And as I'm saying so, Mr. Kyle Jarrow just walked in the studio. He's here.
Hey, I am so sorry I'm late. I'm a jerk. You're amazing.
I'm so happy to see you. I was like, how am I going to fill an hour if he doesn't show up?
God. It is so good to see you. And also, for folks listening, you are wearing a Nightmare Before Christmas t-shirt.
I am.
And it is just the best t-shirt ever.
I love that is what you noticed, and not the fact that I'm wearing a SpongeBob the Musical sweatshirt.
I couldn't see the logo. Thank you for repping the two greatest things that have ever been created.
I didn't even know that you were a Nightmare Before Christmas fan.
Oh, of course. As are anyone who has any taste.
I'm not surprised though, because this show that you're working on right now, Whisper House, has a very sort of Edward Gorey and oh my gosh, what
Tim Burton.
And Tim Burton, I'm
just Tim Burton.
I'm a little thrown off because I don't know if you know this, but my guest was almost 10 minutes late today.
I'll tell you the story after with a big apology.
Oh, listen, you don't have to worry about it. Basically the entire world is in upheaval right now.
I heard that there's an apocalypse.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Crazy.
Yesterday was Women's Day on Broadway. Hillary Clinton spoke in front of a sold out. I mean, it wasn't even sold out. Tickets were free, but they announced her at the last minute after all the tickets had already been taken. And it was, I could do a whole hour on that. But Mandy Gonzalez and Celia Keenan-Bolger were hosting, and they were like, where else would we be in the middle of a worldwide pandemic except celebrating the things we love most, which is theater and women.
Good for them. It sounded amazing.
Good for Hillary, too, because you think that if anybody was going to cancel...
Totally.
Not that she would cancel, but just high-profile figures.
Totally. And she's over 60. So, that's the biggest... danger.
Yeah, and they would have had us believe in 2016 that she was on the verge of death.
I know. Yeah, unbelievable. And now, whatever.
I know. Yeah, that's not the road I want to go down.
A bunch of 70-year-olds.
So here's what I would love for you to do. Can you explain what Whisper House is? I did. Oh, actually, no. We have to do this first. I always write an intro that I start the show with, but
Okay.
I didn't want to do it without you here. So I just kind of went cold and started
Amazing.
talking. So we're going to do a little reset. I wish I had like a little rewind.
Oh, or like that.
Yeah. Oh, what did they do in SpongeBob? Didn't they just go like, oh no, that wasn't there. There was a flashback.
I'm trying to think what the sound effect was. It was some version of like
Yeah, like in Wayne's World.
in Wayne's World. Yeah, totally. Totally.
Welcome to Laura Heywood Interviews. I'm Laura Heywood, and I'm so excited. Kyle Jarrow is finally here. He was nominated for a Tony Award for his brilliant, fully original book of a musical for Spongebob Squarepants. His new project is less bouncy by far, the musical Whisper House, which he wrote with composer Duncan Sheik. And it's been described as spooky and sweet, with songs called Better Off Dead and I Don't Believe in You, which sounds like the opposite of SpongeBob. The show was actually written more than a decade ago, and while I've been familiar with some of Duncan's songs, which are available on a studio album, the show is only now finally making it to New York City. As I mentioned earlier, for those listening live, Whisper House previews begin tomorrow, March 12th at 59 East 59th Street, an intimate off-Broadway space on, you guessed it, East 59th Street. And if you're listening to the free podcast version of Laura Heywood Interviews, which I always make available because I believe that you should be able to use joy as your primary currency, Whisper House is now playing, and tickets are available at 59east59.org. In addition to his theater work, Kyle also leads the indie pop rock band Sky Pony, and he's a dad. And in my experience, he's a total blast when he shows up. So this is going to be a really fun hour. Kyle Jarrow, welcome to Laura Heywood Interviews, and thanks for letting me make fun of you a little.
Thank you, and I'm sorry again.
Don't worry about it.
I did get a workout running here, though. So,
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have to go to the gym today.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I know you, like we are friends, and I know that you're not the type of person to like just take something like this and not take it seriously. So now that you're here, I feel great.
Great, let's do it. Well, I really am sorry, and I owe you a really nice bottle of whatever it is you drink. Really. You don't have to answer
I
now.
only drink very old single malt scotch. So if you're getting me a bottle
Is that
of
true?
something.
Is that really all you drink?
No. I was just like, what if I was like, oh yeah, I drink Trader Joe's wine. No, if you're
That's what I was hoping for.
if you owe me a bottle of quote unquote whatever I drink, then I only drink really expensive stuff.
Right. 1850 vintage.
Yeah, only
champagne.
if Louis XIV was I do like scotch though.
Really? I do too.
I like the really peaty stuff.
Oh, interesting.
The
Like
smokier, the
Talisker
better.
or like
Oban? Like Macallan or
Okay.
anything that's I'm trying to think. It's been actually a while since I had a nice bottle of
Well,
scotch.
I'm really serious. Before we leave, you give me your mailing address, and you may find some. I love scotch.
Oh yeah, well then you probably know more than
Yeah,
I do,
I'm,
because
like,
the ones
excited
that
to,
I get
like-
are the ones I can tell. I consider it a nice bottle of scotch if it comes in like one of those cardboard
Ooh,
tubes,
the cardboard
you
tubes.
know, instead of just the glass
No,
bottle.
but peaty is helpful.
Okay.
But we digress.
Okay, we digress. And you know what? I'm a little distracted because the studio door is open.
Oh, I'll close it. Let me close it.
Okay. Oh, great. Now I have more time to fill. I was going to ask Kyle a question, make him fill the time, but the studio door is now
It was so
open.
fat. This is a beautiful studio, by the way.
Thank you very much. And you know what? This is actually a perfect example of why I do the show live, because I think so. I'm not knocking anybody else who does a radio show or a podcast or any other kind of edited art form. However, part of my identity is just kind of like letting it all hang out. And I'm joyful and I'm extra and I am like a lot for a lot of people. And because I have this, I have a large following of, I don't know if it's mostly, but lots of young enthusiasts who wish with all of their heart that they could come and spend time with Broadway stars and these artists and walk around the streets of Times Square and go to shows whenever I want. And I just don't want them to think that I have some magical thing that makes my life like easy and perfect. And in the era of social media, it's so easy to just see the pictures of me with the stars, or to know that I've gone to Hamilton all these times, or, that I got to go back, work backstage at the Tonys and stuff. And so I'm like, look, shit is messy. Sometimes things don't go the way you want them to. The sound effect doesn't play. The door doesn't get shut. The doorbell rings, or you have the,
late people.
Or late. Well, I mean, that doesn't happen. But like, stuff is messy, and the mess is part of the art. It's not antithetical to the art.
That's deep.
So, I'm kind of here for it, and also I just proved to myself that I can fill 10 minutes and that's good for me to know as a broadcaster.
And you're getting, I'm sorry, all listeners, that you're not all getting bottles of scotch. If I could afford that, I would do it.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen with Whisper House. I mean,
we don't know.
This could set you up for life.
That's true.
Okay, so the big question for me is, why now?
Great question. So, yeah, I mean, as I'm sure everyone listening, and you certainly know, musical theater is weirdly a slow-moving art form. Like, the development of shows is long. It can take, there's a lot of different routes that things take. There's many shows that have had great success that have been in development for like 10 years. And this is one of them. I don't know if it's a great show, but it's one of those shows that's been in development a long time. The story of the development of the show. Well, let me say first what the show's about, really quick.
Yeah, that'd
and then
be
I'll
great.
say sort of the story of its development. So, Whisper House is a ghost story. It is about. It's set during World War II. It's about an 11-year-old boy whose father dies in combat, and whose mother basically has a nervous breakdown.
It is the opposite of SpongeBob.
It kind of is. But it actually
it's like the worst day ever.
It is sort of the worst day ever. And he is sent to live with his aunt, who he's never met, who lives in a lighthouse in Maine. So it's very much that kind of classic setup of a kid, a little bit like Lion, Witch in the Wardrobe, or Heidi, or all these classic stories about a kid who's essentially orphaned and has to go live with a relative that they don't really know, and a relative who knows nothing about taking care of kids. So he's sent to this lighthouse with this aunt who's really sort of a loner, really doesn't know how to interact with kids. And everyone in town basically says that the lighthouse is haunted. And this kid who's obviously dealt with a lot of loss, and there's a war going on, and all this stuff, starts to really believe that he is hearing ghosts. But then what the show ends up really being about is about fear and the ways that we move past it together. And actually, in that way, it is similar to SpongeBob.
Yeah,
SpongeBob has this story about the end of the world and fear, and do we turn against each other or come together? And it is sort of thematically similar.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, I just thought that now. But what it's ultimately about is this woman, his aunt, who lives in this lighthouse. There's a Japanese man who lives in the Bell House, which is like the little outbuilding of the lighthouse, who is sort of the helper, works around the lighthouse for her. And this kid becomes convinced slowly, a little bit of a spoiler, not too much, that this Japanese man is actually a spy. And
because it's World War II.
Because it's World War II, and his father was in fact shot down in the Air Force in a battle with the Japanese. So the kid's fear of otherness in this Japanese man ends up manifesting in believing that he's a spy. And the story is about how that comes into play and what's really going on. And it's ultimately about the ways that we carry fear with us, we carry guilt with us as well, and we carry all the bad things that happen to us. And they do, right? Bad things happen to all of us.
Yeah, I mean, I had quite a morning.
We're just gonna milk it, baby. But anyway, it's about.
Come on.
No. I feel really.
I'm being silly.
Has no one ever been late before?
I've had people not show up.
Oh, great.
Before.
Okay, that makes me feel better. I mean, that sucks, but I'm glad. That...
Yeah. I mean, it's just I had a plan for. We don't need to spend the entire time.
Okay.
But I had our interview from Build Series about SpongeBob and my interview with Duncan about American Psycho.
Oh, great.
Which time out pretty perfectly for this show.
Okay.
So I was like, we can talk about Whisper House by like showing you the two creators.
Oh my God. I feel particularly bad because we don't know each other that well, but I really respect and like you so much. So of all the people to let down, I would hate to let you down.
Look. I made a joke. I probably will keep making jokes.
Keep making the jokes.
But I also realized that I just compared like vamping on the radio for 10 minutes to like, someone being accused of being a spy, in World War II and, and being like, yep, we all have bad days, LOL. So I'm just going to apologize right here, right now for that.
Well, anyway, so it ultimately is a show about the ways that we carry all the bad things that have happened to us, all the fears that we have, we sort of carry them with us, which is really sort of what ghosts are a metaphor for, right? So anyway, I just went way too in depth. But
no, you didn't at all.
But that's sort of what it's about. But it is sort of all framed as a little bit of an Edward Gorey-esque spooky ghost story that is also sweet. I think that is a totally true description. So the story, that's the story. The story of how it came to be. Duncan and I wrote it together about 10 years ago.
How did you guys find each other?
We met through a mutual friend and ended up developing the show. And then Duncan actually had a record deal at the time with Sony Masterworks, I think it was. And he owed them a record and was trying to sort of figure out what it would be. And he ended up really liking the songs that he had written for Whisper House. And he played some of the demos for the record executive. And the exec was like, whoa, why don't you make this the record? So he released it as sort of a concept album, which really is a beautiful record, in my opinion, before there ever was a production of it. And then we did a production maybe a year after that at the Old Globe in San Diego. That went pretty well and was decently received. But the truth is that neither Duncan nor I felt that we had totally solved the piece yet. And then, we both got busy with other things, and there were a couple other false starts. This is the story of so many shows. And so it kind of went into a drawer. And then probably about a year ago now, Steve Cosson, who's the artistic director of The Civilians, which is a wonderful downtown theater company.
I'm obsessed with The Civilians.
Me too. And so when he reached out and was like, hey, I know this piece a little bit. Honestly, I still haven't even asked him how he knows it. Maybe through the record. I'm not even sure. But he was like,
well, you know
guys...
what my guess would be?
Yeah, please tell me.
I first found out about this piece. I mean, I was Barely Breathing was definitely on my radar.
Totally.
As it was for everybody. But Spring Awakening is the show that changed my life. And actually my guest on Monday was Steven Sater. So this is a very Duncan Sheik adjacent week for me.
Steven's awesome.
But I went to see, and I loved American Psycho. I saw it 7 times in the 7 weeks.
I loved it too. I didn't see it 7 times. I wish I had though.
And I went to a 54 Below show called 54 Below sings the songs of Duncan Sheik.
Oh yeah,
and
I was out of town. I didn't get to go.
So I got to hear it was I think maybe it was the cast of American Psycho sings the songs of Duncan Sheik.
Yeah. Okay.
And so they sang some American Psycho songs, some Spring Awakening songs, and like Secret Life of Bees was in development, so they did a couple things from that, and they sang some songs from Whisper House.
Oh, cool.
And that was when I was like, wait, what is this? Because Bees was on my radar,
right.
But this one wasn't really for some reason, and so it would not surprise me at all if someone from The Civilians went.
God, I should ask. I don't. You know what? That's totally possible. I don't know. Regardless, Steve came to us and said, "Would you be interested?" And we both, Duncan and I, are fans of The Civilians' work and had followed it for years. And both of us know Steve as well a little bit. And we were like, "Whoa, really? Like, totally." And then I guess 59th, 59th was interested, and it sort of all came together. So honestly, it came out of a drawer because Steve wanted to do it. And I do feel in between there was a production in London that neither Duncan or I was super involved in.
Oh, interesting.
And we sort of like half figured it out. We did do a bunch of rewrites for it, but neither of us was able to be there a ton. We were both there a little bit. But I do think that this time we have finally figured it out.
Yeah.
By which I mean, I think that this draft feels like it's solved, I hope, the problems of the show. And Steve is just a beautiful director, and we have a wonderful cast, really, really strong. So I don't know. I'm really excited that this is the version that's coming to New York. And sometimes things take 10 years, but I think better late and right than fast and not really figured out yet. So there you go. It's a tricky piece too because the ghosts. There's 2 ghosts. do most of the singing. So it's not a traditional musical in the sense that it's a little bit like most of the living characters don't sing. They do a little bit, but not a ton. And most of the singing is by the dead characters, which is kind of beautiful, and there's a real logic to that. But one of the challenges is making it not feel disjointed, but feel actually like it flows and like you're not pausing a play to listen to a song, just to be really honest.
Well, I love a musical that has, where the music has a purpose. And, I think traditionally it's your emotion is so big that you can't speak anymore.
Yeah.
But like Stephen Sater and I discussed, in Spring Awakening, it's a Greek chorus. It's an inner monologue.
Yeah.
And if they're saying it out loud, they're saying it. If they're thinking it, they're singing it.
Right.
And so I just think that having that conversation of what's the purpose of music in this show. Like, I know there's a musical coming to Lincoln Center called Flying Over Sunset.
Sure, yeah, Tom Kitt.
That's right. And actually, when I went to like the press sneak peek, I happened to be wearing my SpongeBob sweatshirt, and he was like, "Hey, nice sweatshirt." And I was like, "Okay." And then I was like, "Oh my God! Like, I wish I'd worn it in your honor, but I just wear it all the time." And I think he likes that better. Please tell me that Molly Hager sings.
Oh my God!
Because she has one of the most beautiful voices on Broadway, and if you are using her in a musical, but she's not singing, I'm canceling.
She's one of the ghosts, so she sings a lot, and her voice is like butter.
This is a woman who she was in the entire run of Waitress on Broadway.
Yeah.
And she was an incredible ensemble member. She played Jenna's mom in the scenes the flashback scenes. And I'm sure that it was amazing for her to have a steady gig and to have a few moments to step into the spotlight. But this girl is a star, and like
she's amazing. She has a sick voice, amazing actress, and honestly, one of the lovelier people too. This is, as I was saying when you walked in the door, this is one of the few times I've ever done an interview with someone about a piece I haven't seen. Yeah, okay,
because
great.
I just don't believe in it. I know so many journalists who will be like, what's it about? And I'm like, I just want to jump past all of that and I want to ask the follow-up questions first.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
And I also think it does a disservice. But like in this case, you were available before the show began, so it's not like I ignored it.
Well, amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this. The two ghosts, so the people who do the most singing, are Molly Hager and Van Hughes.
I know Van.
Who are both just incredible musicians, sick voices. They sound together like just perfect. They're both incredible. And then
Van
the rest
was in the revival of Spring Awakening.
That's correct.
Yeah, he was a swing. And
That's right.
he had to go on for a couple of parts that he hadn't rehearsed.
I didn't know that.
And I was
Oh my
there
God,
for
I'm
one
gonna
of
ask
them,
him
and
about
he
that.
totally nailed it.
He's amazing. And the rest of the cast, Samantha Mathis, who people may know from Pump Up the Volume, from Billions, from all sorts of other things. She just did
Billions.
She just did, oh my God, what was the wonderful Make Believe? She just did Second Stage last season. She's an incredible actress. She is in the show. James Yagashi. Wyatt Cerbis plays the boy. There's also Jeb Brown, who I'm sure you know. He's done a ton of things.
Jeb Brown is one of those like, I know that guy.
Yeah.
Like he's a character actor who you've probably seen in 100 things, but if he walked by you on the street, you'd be like, did I take a class with him once?
Yeah.
Because he's familiar in a way that is really approachable. So you recognize him and you figure you knew him. Not he's like a star.
I mean,
not that he's not a star.
I don't even know. Look him up on IMDb. Jeb Brown. To anyone listening, like this guy has got the deepest resume you've ever seen. He's kind of incredible. So it's really a wonderful cast. But Van and Molly, man, their voices together are sick. And Van is also a great guitarist and plays guitar on stage for many of the songs. And anyone who knows Duncan's music knows it's very guitar-driven. You may not know that Duncan writes in very distinct tunings, alternate tunings on guitars. That's part of how he gets his distinct sound. So it is not easy to play a lot of his tunes on guitar, or sort of to play them right, I would say. And Van is really an accomplished guitarist.
You know, that doesn't
it's really
surprise
incredible.
me because the way that the revival of Spring Awakening was staged, the Deaf West production. Did you see it?
Yeah, I did. I loved it. I saw
lot
it in
of
LA and here, actually.
Each performer, each character had each deaf character had a musical counterpart who did the singing and also played instruments. And because Van was the swing, he had to know all the instruments as well as all the voicings.
I mean,
and the day that I was there, I think the first day he went on and he had to play the piano and sing and act all at the same time for a part he hadn't rehearsed yet.
Wow.
And it was incredible. So knowing that he can master the musician, the instrumental side of this,
he also is a composer himself. He's really talented musician. Anyway, but back to the Molly Hager compliment. She's incredible. She's totally a star, and she has one of the best voices that I have heard on stage. She really is. It would be worth seeing the show, honestly, just for her.
Yeah,
voice.
I feel that
there are many
way.
other reasons to see it too. It's really if the show's not great, it is not because of the cast. I mean, they're incredible.
Who should we blame?
You should probably blame me, to be honest. No, it will be great. It is great.
Of course it is.
But really, it's a phenomenal company, and you know this for sure. Like, one of the tough things about theater is, unlike film or TV, right? Like, you have to commit as an actor to a big chunk of time, right? And so sometimes you don't get the people you want because they're not available. And we had the good luck that we got all of our first choices in this cast. And that so seldom happens, even for Broadway shows, because people just aren't available, you know? And so the stars aligned, and everyone that we wanted, all of our first choices were available for the show. And that's just, like, never happens.
And the show's running through mid-April.
That's correct.
April 19th.
I think it was the 19th. Yeah.
There are still some tickets available. I will be at opening night.
Oh my gosh! Oh, awesome!
I'm very excited. I mean, Mama loves an opening night.
Yeah.
And actually,
the 24th, I think, is opening night, right? March 24th.
I think so. The 24th. This is actually my second. Can I just tell a story that is not about Whisper House, but
Please.
is about a Duncan Sheik opening night?
Oh my God!
All right, so.
I have no idea what you're about to say.
Oh, also today, as soon as we're done with this, I'm going to see Bob and Carol. And
you haven't seen it yet?
I haven't seen it yet. No.
Oh, cool. It's really, I really liked it.
I'm really excited. So yeah, this is a big Duncan Sheik week for me.
Oh, nice.
But I was about to say his most recent opening night, but that was Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. The one before that was Secret Life of Bees.
Yeah, sure.
And it was at the Atlantic Theater. I'm sure there's a future for that one. I live very close to the Atlantic Theater.
Okay.
And so I used to walk by. I mean, I walk by the Atlantic on my way from the subway to my apartment and vice versa. And during rehearsals and previews, Duncan was often sitting outside while the cast was inside working.
Sure.
And he would just pop in and out. And he had a new baby at the time, so he was like FaceTiming and on the phone.
Oh my God! Yeah,
with,
that's right. His baby would have been a couple months old.
yeah,
at that point.
but he had to be there just in case they needed him. So I often would come and sit on the steps of the Atlantic and just chat with him.
Wait, really? Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
And because Spring Awakening was the show that changed my life, I was just pinching myself like crazy. And I said to him, I'm so close by that if you ever find you need a seat filler or whatever, like I would see the show a million times. I mean, I saw Spring Awakening 13 times in the first year.
Wow.
I saw American Psycho 7 times in 7 weeks. Like when I get into a show, I get really into it.
Fan.
But of course I can't afford tickets. A lot of those were Rush or the equivalent.
Sure. Yeah. Ticket prices are crazy.
And also I always say because I have this social media audience, I always say, if you can sell the ticket, sell it. If you can't sell the ticket, it might be worth having me in the seat promoting the fact that I'm there again than to keep the seat empty.
Sure.
I'm not trying to take money out of anybody's pockets, but if the seat's going to be empty, there is value in having me there. So I told...
And also for the cast, like, they don't want empty seats. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, everyone feels better doing a show to a fuller house.
Yeah. True. But I also understand that theaters can't just give away all the tickets for free. So
right.
I try to I try to make a case of why it's actually there is actual that. In any case, so I had just gone to it's opening the day of opening. I just gone to the gym. I decided to take the long way home and walk the High Line.
Nice.
But I was like super sweaty and gross. It was a summer day, and I think opening was at 7 p.m. and it was like 6:40, and as I'm walking, I check my email, which was the only communication Duncan, like the only way Duncan had to reach me was email.
Right.
And I happened to be that annoying person walking the High Line while I was on my phone, and it just said, one of my guests for tonight canceled. Do you want to come? And I don't think I've ever run so fast.
Wow.
I sprinted down from like 40 something all the way down to the Atlantic, which is on 20th Street. I luckily was able to pop into my apartment.
Put on some clothes, yeah.
I put on a dress. I changed my sweaty ponytail into a slicked back updo, which basically just involved changing from a rubber band to a hair
sweat,
clip.
was like hairspray.
It was like a sheen. Yeah. It was like, I looked like one of those, who are those, the 1980s music video with the slick back hair?
Oh, Robert Palmer
Yeah,
girls?
I looked like a Robert Palmer girl.
Nice.
And then I went and I was in my seat before the show started.
Oh, wow.
The best part of this story is that intermission, I ran home, showered, changed my clothes, blew my hair dry, put makeup on, and was back in my seat in a completely new glam look. For Act 2.
How did you have time?
I don't know. It was like
minutes.
It was like a montage from a movie where, like they just turn around and the whole world is changed.
That is amazing.
I feel like in that would be the sitcom episode, like Broadway Girl NYC, the sitcom.
Totally.
That would be an episode, and people would be like, "That would never happen," but it totally happened.
You would like fall in love at the after party in the sitcom.
Oh yeah.
Did that happen?
No.
Sorry.
But
But
I did fall in love at the theater.
Interesting.
This one was not Duncan Sheik related.
Okay. Well,
But,
can you tell me?
Yeah.
Or is that like too personal?
No, it's a great story.
Yeah.
Actually, so okay.
Has everyone heard it already?
No, I've never
my
talked
God,
publicly
guys,
about it.
this
It's fairly recent.
Okay, congratulations.
The only thing is do you want to spend your hour dedicated to promoting Whisper House talking about my love life?
I mean, we can talk about your love life for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Whisper House is also, there's a love story involved in it.
So it's related.
It's related. It's the kid does not fall in love. It's other characters. But there's actually, that's really the sweetness to it, is that there's really a love story in there. But tell me, I want to hear.
Okay, so we're going live.
Now
This
we're on
is
like Love
exclusive
Line.
stuff.
What was that? Wasn't that old radio show?
Yeah, with Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla.
Yeah.
I've actually I talk a lot about myself on this show because I have a full hour. I have full, complete creative control. It's not like the days when I worked in
Power.
I worked for SiriusXM for 10 years and, they own everything you create, of course.
Yeah.
But here, DNR are so wonderful they were just like, we think you make great stuff and
Just
we
do what
have
you
the
want.
space. So I even own it. And I've thought, I'm almost up to 100 episodes.
Wow.
I think, in fact, next week marks a year here, and I've been doing 2 shows a week. Wow. So, and I've thought I need to get somebody to transcribe them all because just the stories I've told about my own life could become my memoir. This is a great one.
Okay. Hit me.
So 3 years ago, I'm working for a company associated with the Tony Awards.
Okay.
And they want me to do man on the street interviews in Times Square.
Okay.
And I'm like, no way.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
I'm not going up to people being like, excuse me, sir. Like, I'm not Billy on the street.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those, hey, do you like comedy? Everyone hates those people.
I mean,
won't be
Billy's famous because that's really hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
and
he does
he's
it
famous
really
because
well.
he doesn't mind being obnoxious
No,
to
he
the
kinda
nth
loves
degree.
it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and that's his gig. That's his shtick.
Yeah.
For me, as extra as I can be, I also completely have this neurosis that everyone's secretly mad at me. So the last thing I want to do is do the one thing that makes everybody actually
mad at
But what I told them was, I will interview people in Schubert Alley. I'm just going to tweet that I'm there and let people choose to come and walk
smart.
by. And
Yeah.
that way they've opted in, so I don't have to accost them. So I posted it on social media, and I also posted it to an internal group at the gym that I go to, which is a very community-based, fun, lots of theater people.
Is it Mark Fisher Fitness?
Yes.
Yeah, I know a ton of people who go there.
Yeah, it's the best.
Apparently, it's the best.
It's so fun. Anyway, so this guy comes in and I record an interview with him, and the concept of the interviews was who are the people behind the scenes who don't usually get any credit who helped you get to where you are now.
Oh,
It was called
awesome.
#supporting cast.
Awesome.
And I was asking a lot of Broadway actors and nominees about this too, and they were saying things like their dresser or their first dance teacher.
Unsung heroes.
The unsung heroes. But we all have our supporting cast, right?
Sure.
So this guy, Robert, gave his answer sounded like he was accepting an award. He was like, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for which was sort of the point.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh my gosh, you just gave a Tony speech. And he said, it's funny. I actually had a dream recently that I was giving a Tony speech and I thanked my significant other. But the weird thing is I don't have a significant other. And I was like, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to find you one. And then by the time you get your Tony, you're going to have your love. In the meantime, I'll be your supporting cast, So cut to 3 years later. We're Facebook friends from that.
Okay, sure. From that one interaction.
And I was out of town for like a month.
Okay.
At the end of last year. No, like 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
And we'd been just commenting on each other's Facebook posts. Apparently for a couple of years, he thought I was married. I don't know why. But
no wedding ring, but whatever.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, we were communicating a little bit through Facebook, and then he was like, well, when you get back, we should do something. And I was like, all right, well, I have 2 tickets to Jagged Little Pill the day I get back. Literally, I get off the red eye and I'm going to Jagged Little Pill if you want to join me. And he was like, okay. So we met at Jagged Little Pill, sat down, watched the first act, and I noticed during the middle of Act 1 that he was hogging the armrest, which is a huge pet peeve of mine.
Oh.
But for some reason, it wasn't bothering me.
Whoa.
And I was like, why isn't it bothering
Interesting.
me? And I realized that I was having this middle school thing where our arms were touching.
Ooh,
and it felt like
you were into it.
There was like energy.
Yeah.
Going back and forth, like, when like your knee would touch somebody's knee.
Sure.
And I was like, I don't want to move my arm because we're like, he's taking up the whole armrest, and I could totally just move my arm away from the armrest, but I don't really want to.
Wow.
And then at intermission, I ran to the ladies' room, which takes forever, and I got back just in time for Act 2, and I said to him, all right, well, if it gets emotional in Act 2, which obviously I knew it had, because I saw the show out of town.
Right, okay, yeah.
So I was like, if it gets emotional in Act 2, I might need to like grab your arm.
Oh, yeah, planting the seeds.
But before it even started, he just like took my arm and put it in his.
Oh, what?
And I've done this kind of thing with like my gay best friend and like my sister and,
Different energy though, also when you don't really know somebody.
Yeah. I mean, we knew each other well enough that our community overlapped and stuff.
Sure.
So he wasn't a stranger, which made it better. But then the thing was, while I was holding his arm, he put his hand on my knee and started like, moving his like, and I was like, what is happening? I can't believe, is this thing really happening? And
well played, Robert.
I know. And
well, since you were into it, well played.
Yeah.
Otherwise, creepster.
I don't think so, because
he read the room.
He read the room. We were friends.
Yeah,
he was not a stranger.
Totally,
like I'd invited him to the show, and if he'd just been hogging the armrest, then I really believe that if I had shifted my weight to the other armrest, none of this ever would
and also
have
you saying
happened.
like I might have to hold on to you if I get it sad, like it was clearly like a all systems go.
We couldn't. He couldn't verbally ask me for like consent. May I put my hand on your knee because we were in the middle of the.
Yeah.
But it was very like there was a lot of nonverbal consent happening.
Energy was pinging.
Totally. So after the show, I'm going during Act 2. I'm like, I think this is happening.
Yeah.
What? I've been single, like very single for like 3 years, and it came out of nowhere with somebody that was already in my life. It just blowing my mind, and I thought I must be making it up. There were 2 things that happened immediately following the show that made me know he was the one for me. The first was he said, we got to find you some cups. He knew that after every show I go to, I pick up people's used logo sippy cups. You know, the like.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I wash them and I send them to kids around the country who can't get to the theater.
I didn't
because
know you did that. That's awesome.
I run a Facebook group called Broadway Sippy Cup Collectors that has like over 1,000 members.
Wow.
And
That's
because
wow.
they're not technically merchandise, which means they can't be sold online, which means because of the exclusive contracts that the merchandisers have,
wow,
the cups are quote unquote free with purchase.
Right.
But then you get people who are spending $400 on a theater ticket for whom keeping the cup is like keeping an empty beer can. It's just a receptacle.
Right.
So it's literally one person's trash is another person's
That's
treasure.
beautiful, yeah.
And he had followed along with this through Facebook. And so he was like, let's find cups.
Oh,
and so
wow, okay.
he's crawling under the
Awesome.
seats, grabbing
Oh,
cups
man, this
for
guy's
me.
awesome.
And then we got the cups. We dumped them all out. We put them. This is pre-coronavirus. We put them put them in a plastic bag, tied it up. We went outside, and a massive storm had started. And he like took me by the elbow, led me across the street away from the crowd, and without saying anything. Actually, no, I said something. I looked him in the eye, and I was like, "What is happening?" And he just laid on me the best kiss of my life.
All right, Robert.
I know.
And you guys are still together.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
3 years later.
No. This was like
Jagged Little Pill. This is like,
this was recent.
Right,
this
you
was
met
really
3 years
recent.
ago. I'm
we
sorry.
met 3 years ago.
Oh my God! Well, congratulations, Robert. If you're listening, you are a smooth moves, sir. Smooth moves.
Yeah. So
that's a beautiful story.
so now whoever transcribes this, now I don't actually have to write it for my memoir.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. What a wonderful story. Awesome.
I know.
Robert.
Anyway, wait. Since we're talking about romance, can we talk about your beautiful family?
Sure. Yeah.
You're both artistic. You're artistic partners and life partners with.
That's true.
With
I'm
your
married
love.
to Lauren Worsham, who's a Tony-nominated actress, and she's an amazing person, but also an incredibly amazing performer.
She can sing like classical opera and like hardcore, like vampire punk.
Yeah.
Scream.
Our band, she really rocks out. And Sky Pony is our band that we do together. She's the lead singer. Totally worth, if you're listening, totally worth checking out. SkyPonyBand.com.
And all the socials is Sky Pony
And all the
Band.
yeah. She's amazing. Yeah, and we have 2 kids now. We have a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old.
You have a 3-month-old?
Yeah.
All things about you being late are forgiven.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's honestly,
That is no joke.
No.
How are you even?
I know. Well,
How are you even awake?
it's honestly, I don't know. At some point we'll talk about the show, but what I will say is we actually live in LA now mostly. And they were here this weekend because our band had a show actually. So we all came, and then Lauren and the girls flew back to LA yesterday.
You let her go on a plane with 2 children under 5?
Well, yeah. I mean, we discussed it. Yeah, I felt really bad. The thing is, I just had to be here longer, and
Of
it just
course.
didn't really
I'm
make sense.
teasing you.
No, but it's like no joke, man. Kids are crazy. If you're listening to this and you're thinking about having kids, totally do it, but like totally delay it as long as you can. Yeah, I don't know. She's wonderful. It's actually interesting. When we met at a party, and it was a similar thing of like just the vibes were really clear from the first moment, and there was like a lot of leg touching and stuff like that. That is the kind of thing that would be just so weird, and like I never do stuff like that really, but there was just a vibe. It was just so clear that it was right. So anyway, I totally relate to that story.
Chemistry is legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
2 kids.
2 kids. I know. It's really it is honestly what's really crazy is that being in this business, and I do a lot of film and TV stuff, and similarly, just weird hours, like a lot of travel. It's just really crazy to have 2 parents who both do that, and to figure out like how do you make that work just logistically with like who's with the kids, like do the kids come with you? If you have a gig out of town, does everybody go, or do you just go and then you're away from your family? And just those decisions are really tricky. And I know from talking to other families, like it's tough, and every family solves it a different way, but they're really, unfortunately, industries that are not built for people with families.
Yeah.
And particularly for women, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Like it can be very challenging to be a mom and figure out how to be a working mom in the theater. It's really tough.
We quote unquote talked, meaning there was a lot of talk yesterday at the Women on
God,
Broadway
I'm sure. I'm
event
glad.
about, first of all, we talked about the fact that men are never asked how they balance being a father and having a career.
No one's ever asked me that.
My sister just walked in.
Oh, really?
She's visiting for California. We're going to see
Nice.
We're going to see all the shows.
Bob, Ted, and Alice.
Bob, Carol, Ted, and Alice. Yeah, our parents are Bob and Carolyn, so I can always remember because it starts with
so
Bob
funny.
and Carolyn. Bob and Carolyn,
That's
Ted
hilarious.
and Alice.
Well, your parents are actually probably the generation that the movie's about. Maybe a little.
I've never
younger.
seen it, so I don't know anything about it.
You'll find out.
I will. I'll find out.
A lot of skin too. A lot of skin.
Oh, good. Well,
Yeah.
there's some hot bodies in that show, so I'm into it. What was I just saying before
Oh,
my sister walked
Working
in?
Moms.
Oh yeah.
Theater.
So we talked a lot, and we talked about the fact that when women are in leadership roles, inherently they are asking the questions about things like work-life balance, because sometimes it comes down to like nursing, which even if all other things were equal, a new mother who's nursing cannot be away from her baby.
Right. Yeah.
And like LaShawne's talked about doing a show 3 weeks after launching it, being the lead in a show 3 weeks after her first daughter was born.
Wow.
And they even asked her, they were like, we want to wait till you're ready. How much time do you need? It was her first kid. And she was like, I don't know, 3 weeks.
Oh my God. Wow. I bet she, that's incredible. She's incredible.
Yeah.
But I bet she regretted that
She
she
did.
did not say a longer amount of time.
Well, and the thing is I this is secondhand from memory. It is not a quote. This is my takeaway.
Sure.
But I think what she said was that it was really like progressive of them to even ask her that.
Yeah.
But that if there had been more women involved from the at the top, they would have said, honey, you're gonna need more.
They would
than
have said
3
you're crazy.
weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks is crazy.
But
yeah.
the fact that they asked her and they timed it around her was amazing.
Yeah.
But still,
Yeah.
to have the representation at the highest levels always is going to make even more of a difference, even for the best intentions.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true.
Of men.
Should we talk about the show?
About
we can talk
Whisper
about whatever
House?
you want. I don't know.
Well-
I feel bad that we veered off. But
Well,
maybe it's
here's
interesting.
my theory, and here's why I think that this show is enjoyable, and I hope that the show is enjoyable for people to listen to, is that it doesn't sound like an infomercial.
It's definitely not. Yeah.
And that my theory about promoting anything is that we all want to support the people in our communities. And the more you feel like you know somebody, the more they feel like part of their community, and you want to show up for whatever they're doing. And so, and especially since I haven't seen Whisper House, I can't be like,
right, I
what
guess what are
about
you gonna
that
ask me?
moment?
Yeah, totally.
I can continue to say like, tell me more about what
You're
it's
right,
about,
you're right, totally.
But I think I think people are more likely to see the show when they find out that you've been working on it for 10 years and that you're the guy who, told the funny story about blah, 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 or whatever. I think because we all go to support our friends.
Totally.
Yeah. I talk about this. I teach social media workshops. And,
cool.
And mostly with students and people who want to become actors and are like, what do I put on my social media? And then I look, and they're tweeting or putting an Instagram that's just a flyer for their show. And I'm like, put a picture of you laughing so hard, milk came out your nose.
Yeah.
Don't make it slick.
Make it feel personal.
And I actually use as an example, we want to do the digital, or in this case, audio version of, here's who we don't want to be. We don't want to be the guy in Times Square passing out the flyer going, do you like comedy? Do you like comedy? Because he is accosting us.
Right.
And we're going to say no, even though everybody likes comedy.
Right. Sure, we might love the show, but you
but
wanna do
like,
that.
let's say you're in the elevator in your apartment building and somebody who you've seen around a lot, who's like around the same age, you always smile when you see each other, but you don't really know each other. And they're like, hey, this is kind of weird. And they hand you a flyer and they're like, but like, I'm making my stand-up comedy debut. A bunch of my friends are going to be there. We're going to have drinks. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but like, if you're around, come and show up. If it was me, I'd go to my neighbor's comedy show, and I would never in a million years take a flyer from the person who's trying to hit me over the head with it in Times Square, and it might be the exact same show.
That's so true. Yeah, you're really right.
So I talk about wanting to build community, make people feel like they know you, and become the virtual equivalent of that friend or neighbor who you want to show up for, because none of us will really know what the show is till we show up.
Yeah.
And some people want to read reviews and storylines and stuff. They have access to that already.
Yeah.
But what I want to provide is I want to take my ability to communicate with people and connect with them on kind of a friend of a friend, or like we need to catch up over coffee and let people listen in and make them know that they're a part of that community who they want to show up for too.
That's cool. Well, I will also say, this is so weird, but whatever. We're all living through this weird coronavirus time, right? And I will say that one of the things it has done, and actually I'm not speaking with particular authority here, but I'm sure it's true of our show because it's true of all shows, ticket sales have slumped a little bit. And the good side of that is that there are like good deals to be had, and there are seats to be bought for a lot of smaller shows that tend to sell out, like really tough to get tickets to. And I think Whisper House is one of those that there are maybe more seats than there would be without that. And the truth is, like, wash your hands, don't come if you're sick. But I do think for theater fans, there's actually like a lot of great deals and a lot of great seats to a lot of great shows. That might not be there normally. So if you're healthy and like you are in New York, come see Whisper House, go see a bunch of stuff. Cause like you can get in. Rudin just said that on all his shows, they're doing like $50 tickets.
Yeah.
So there's some really good deals out there and a lot of shows that are normally really tough to get tickets to. So I don't know. It's sort of actually weirdly a great time to go see some theater.
Yeah, if you're healthy. I think that's the part that is the most. I'm nervous that that deals like Rudin's will encourage people who don't feel good to be like, well, it's only $50.
I know that worries me too. Like tourists, I don't know about that, but I would say for Whisper House,
but if you're healthy, go see all the shows.
Go see everything. But it is sort of a
especially
moment.
Whisper House.
Especially Whisper House. Go see Whisper House first, then go see all the other lesser shows.
We're down to our last 2 minutes.
Okay, awesome.
So let's give people all the information they need to find the stuff that we didn't, like the more dry detail stuff. So 59e59.org is the website where you can find tickets.
That's right. That is also the address of the theater, 59 East 59th. It's between Park and Madison on 59th Street, right near the park. So go walk in the park. It's been a beautiful day. And then go see a ghost story.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And also for you on social media, you're not on Instagram, are you?
No, you know what? I was, and my Instagram got hacked by somebody who liked, I swear to God, like 10,000 Eastern European like naked women accounts. I swear. So I shut it down. I got to restart it. But I am at Land of Trust on Twitter.
What is that about? Tell me.
I don't know. It
quickly.
happened to someone else I knew too. I don't know.
No. Why are you called Land of Trust is my question.
Long story, inside joke with some friends. It's like right when I first joined Twitter years ago, I totally should change it, but you can't change your handle. I don't think there's a way to do it.
There are ways, but...
Anyway, the other thing I'll say is that Duncan's record of Whisper House is on Spotify, you can iTunes, Amazon. Type in Duncan Sheik Whisper House, and you can listen to some of the tunes. They're beautiful tunes, and that might be the best way for people to really familiarize themselves with the piece and get a sense for what the vibe is.
Well, I can't wait. I adore you. I adore Duncan. I love the civilians. 59 East 59 is such a beautiful space.
Yeah,
so like all the pieces add up. I mean, those are 4 different communities that I want to show up for.
Awesome.
So to me, it's a win-win, win-win. Kyle Jarrow.
Thank you so much. I'm really sorry I was late. It's
you know what? I
talking
think that
to
it made us jump right into
get to the love lives.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.